All right, let's get right into it. You know how we're always told that regular checkups are just the key to staying healthy? Well, what if I told you that for some of us, especially as we get older, certain tests could actually be doing more harm than good? It sounds kind of crazy, right? But it's something we really need to talk about. So I want to ask you something right off the bat, a question that kind of goes against everything we've been taught. Are all medical tests actually good for you? You'd think the answer is a simple yes, but, well, it's a lot more complicated than that. And hey, this isn't just me asking some random question. This whole idea comes from a pretty serious warning, actually, from a surgeon. And they're pointing out that some of the checkups we think of as routine, especially if you're over 70, might need a much closer look. Okay, so that brings us to our first part here, a surprising health warning. We're going to unpack what's really going on and why this is just so critical to understand, particularly for older adults. Let's kick things off with a number that honestly kind of stopped me in my tracks: 37%. The source says that 37% of medical tests given to seniors can actually cause needless complications. We're talking things that could even have lifelong side effects. Think about that for a second. That's more than 1 out of every 3 tests. And there's a name for this whole thing. It's called medical overtesting. Basically, it's when the downsides of a test, like radiation, risks from the procedure itself, or even getting a result that sends you down a rabbit hole of more tests, end up being bigger than any potential good it could do. Okay, I know this all sounds a bit abstract, so let's make it real. We're going to look at a case study, the CT scan. I mean, it's a super common test, it's an amazing piece of technology, but it's also the perfect example of how these risks can pop up when we're not careful. So think about this for a second. We all hear the word radiation, right? But what does that really mean? Like, how much radiation do you think is in one full body CT scan? Just take a guess. All right, to give you some perspective, let's compare it to something we're all familiar with. On one hand, you've got a standard chest x-ray. On the other, a full body CT scan. The difference between these two is, frankly, pretty wild. You ready for this? It's 500 times more. 500. A single full-body CT scan can give you the same radiation dose as 500 chest x-rays. That is a huge amount of radiation, and we've got to understand what that means for our bodies. Okay, 500 times is a shocking number, but it's still just a number, right? So the real question is, what does that level of exposure actually do? What's the real-world impact on your health down the line? Well, here's where it gets really serious. The source we're looking at suggests that up to 5% of all cancer cases might be connected to radiation from CT scans. Now, let me be clear, these scans can be absolute lifesavers, but using them too much, that's a whole different story, and it comes with a very real risk. Now, the goal here is not to scare you or tell you to avoid your doctor, not at all. It's the opposite, really. It's about giving you the power to take control. So this next part is all about your role in your health and how you can turn this info into a productive, empowered conversation with your doctor. So how do you actually do that? Well, it's simpler than you might think. It really comes down to 3 steps. Step 1, just understand why they want to do the test. What are they looking for? Step 2, ask about the pros and the cons, the risks and the benefits. And step 3, remember that you're a team. You and your doctor are partners in this decision. And to make that partnership even stronger, here are a few key questions you can literally take with you to your next appointment. Things like, why do I need this test right now? Or what's the downside if I decide to wait? You can even ask, are there any other options that are maybe a little safer? And of course, what are the potential bad outcomes of the test itself? Just asking these can change the whole conversation. There's this one quote from the source that just nails it. It says, the most important checkup is the one you have with your doctor about your other checkups. I mean, that's it right there, isn't it? It all comes down to talking it through together. So let's wrap up with a question for you. After hearing all this, what's the one question you're going to make sure you ask before your next medical test? Really think about it, because just having that question ready, that's the first step to taking charge of your own health.